Welcome to Market Overtime. I'm Oliver Rennick. The clear and dominant theme in 2024, of course, has been artificial intelligence, its ripple effects on the economy, and its huge concentration in moving the U.S. stock market. Question now is, what inning are we in and how much more there is left to disrupt? We're here to talk disruption today with Jim Harris. He's a public speaker, an author, a thought leader, and commentator on some of the biggest tech trends. A former Canadian politician as well, head of the Green Party. Jim, you got an interesting background and interesting thoughts. Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here, Oliver.
Tell us about how you came into the world of disruptive tech. You wrote a book in the early 2000s dealing with some of the power of the internet. What do you see in the power of AI today? How do the two overlap?
Well, in 1993, I saw the power of the web when it was born, and I was telling my clients this is going to change everything, and they were looking at me like I had three heads on my shoulder. Fast forward to today, and the web is integrated into everything that we do. Well, this AI revolution is just as profound, but it's happening at warp speed. And so we're seeing more change in a shorter period of time than we've ever had in the business community. So AI is going to transform everything. And when we look at ChatGPT, it was adopted by 100 million people in the first 60 days, making it the fastest adopted technology in the world's history.
When you look at the adoption right now, it seems like a lot of it's coming from the AI side, a lot of these big tech companies, the hyperscalers buying up all the hardware. What do you see, Jim, as the customer kind of endpoint? Are we two products yet? Are we at that stage, or is it still a hardware build out?
We are at the very early stages of this revolution. It's literally in its infancy. What I predict we're going to see happen is people take the tools, and there are literally thousands of AI applications that are out there. We're going to see really intelligent companies take the tools, the platforms, and build niche applications on them. So let's take ChatGPT and apply it to the insurance industry and build a stack on top of the tools that we have that automate processes in the insurance industry, whether it's life insurance, car insurance, home insurance, B2B insurance. So really smart developers are racing into this market. So there's a huge influx of capital, of venture capital. So we're at early stages of this revolution.
You know, thinking about it compared to the internet, it's an interesting thing because AI, while certainly its own invention and process that we're breaking through with the language models being that kind of main impetus of the latest breakthrough the past year, it still at this point is using information and is harnessing the internet as basically the engine, right? That's where the root of a lot of this is. So when you think about these two revolutions, the original internet revolution, like the invention of the tree, and now we're like picking fruit from the tree, which one's worth more, Jim? Because when I think about like a stock market perspective, a lot of people want to compare these two themes, but the internet bubble was like a lot juicier, a lot frothier. Does it make sense to be that way?
So I want to make a distinction first off. When we look at, I've been tracking AI for a long time. I began speaking and thinking and writing about AI in 1997 when IBM's Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov, the world chess championship in chess in a series of matches. And that was mind-blowing. Now, fast forward to 2016, Google's DeepMind AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol in Go. Now, that was an infinitely more complex game, another demarcation in this AI journey. So AI isn't new. But here's the big difference today. Those two examples, you had to have, IBM's Deep Blue was $100 million project. So it was only the purview of really deep-pocketed large companies. But what we're seeing in this AI revolution, launched by OpenAI in November of 2022 with the launch of ChatGPT 3.0, is a democratization where now anybody can take this AI tool and the thousands of others that have emerged and build upon them. So the democratization of AI, the froth that we're seeing with literally thousands of companies being born and focused on these niche applications, this is how it is fundamentally different. And then the AI of past. Now, if we go back to the web became a platform that allowed others to innovate. Like Amazon like Jeff started Amazon because he looked at the exponential growth rate. He was working on Wall Street. He looked at the exponential growth rate, the CAGR on web adoption, and he said, I got to do this. And he started with books. We're going to see that same kind of progress with AI. Companies are going to focus on a minimum viable product, get adoption, get traction, and build out. So today, Amazon sells everything. It started with books because a book is a book is a book.
When you look at the status of those products right now, Jim, what's most compelling? Like, what do you think we can hold up as sort of the main product or service right now of AI? Is it still generally like the open to the public ChatGPT and other applications? We've also got some hardware, like Microsoft's got Copilot, Apple's coming out with the phone. We haven't seen the latter in detail yet, but where do you see the kind of initial products right now as leading? Like what's most interesting to you?
So on the hardware side, of course, everybody's talking about NVIDIA because it makes the chips, and chips need definition. You know, when I think of chip, I think about what used to be an Intel chip like this.
They're huge now.
These are humongous chips. Like Blackwell is humongous, and Facebook has bought $10 billion worth of NVIDIA's chips.
Right.
So
it's like an engine. It's more like a car engine.
It's really an engine. It's like, oh my God, it's like a mainframe of days past. But each one of these. So obviously there's a hardware play, and which is why you see the huge market cap of NVIDIA. So that's one play. But we think about the AI revolution currently in terms of text, because we think about ChatGPT.
Correct.
And really it's not just about text. It's also about images. With DALL-E and Midjourney, I can create my own images. And so I can go to some image service and say, hey, I'd like a search around for my presentations and have the word Y in cursive on a corkboard with a pin on a piece of white paper. Or I can go to DALL-E and Midjourney and say, create a prompt just like that and get the image for free rather than paying $500 to license it from some stock image service. So we're seeing it creep into marketing around images. It's not just images, though. It's now video, where I can create video using AI. And this raises a whole issue about deep fakes, and we've seen some things already in this election cycle, but in the US. So it's not just text, it's audio, it's video, it's images. All of these things are beginning to enter into the market.
It's another distinction where it seems like right now one of the clear impacts of this technology is not just on computing, but also on some of the arts. And I think that's where we're in an interesting spot, because in many ways people think about technological advancements as creating more time for people to be expressive, right? If we can have robots doing our stuff for us, if we can have tech creating wealth for us generally over time, right? It's kind of the phrase like, I work the land so that my children can be, artists, or musicians. It's kind of a strange spot now where arguably the AI is trying to supplant some of that. Do you anticipate backlash to that?
There's huge backlash already. More than 50% of American workers fear AI. I think they've seen the Terminator and iRobot and Ex Machina. So Hollywood has sold us a dystopian view about AI. I look at the incredible benefits. I look at the fact that AIs in medical space can read an X-ray, or a CT scan, or an MRI just as well as a radiologist or an oncologist. And so that frees up the time of the radiologist and oncologist to do more important work. I don't see it as an either or, I see it as an and. But back to this point, more than 50% of the American working public fears AI. So McKinsey Global Institute estimates that 555 to 900 million jobs will be created by AI. That's the great news. The bad news is 400 to 800 million jobs are going to be lost by 2030.
Jim, what stands out to you as potentially the areas that get disrupted? We're talking some of the art impact, right? Some of the creativity impact. So far, though, companies like Autodesk, Adobe, seems like they've been able to harness it to some degree. I think about some of the other software businesses, though, the like thousands, almost hundreds that cropped up over the last decade out of Silicon Valley. It seems like maybe AI can disrupt a bit if people can code sort of some of their own functionality. We've had a big difference in the stock market between software and hardware, where so far it's been the hardware beneficiaries. What companies in the software world get disrupted by this negatively?
Well, I want to start with the World Economics Forum's most recent World Jobs Report. And anybody who has the word clerk in their title is going to be at risk. So anything that's dull, dirty, or dangerous is going to get automated. So data entry is going to go the way of the dodo, and simple transaction bank
That's the dull part.
That's right. The dull part. Yeah, anything that people find is boring is going to get automated, where we're not using our inherent skills. And you were talking about artists. I've seen a TikTok artist, a TikTok artist, it's a new term, a TikTok influencer who's using an AI, I'm not sure which one he's using, called, his handle is a Lunar, ILUNR, where he says, I want you to take these 4 bands that I love and create a song and talk about spaceships and love. And you watch this video, it's amazing. I'm going to interview him for a new book I'm writing. And boom, he's got this video and an audio of a song that sounds really quite good, which is 4 of his favorite bands. So I see the AI as enhancing the human experience. So back to oncologists, rather than have an oncology board studying, does this patient have cancer, looking at all the data, the AI can do that work. IBM has worked with Watson in the medical field around this. So that frees up the time of highly paid oncologists to do more research, to have more time with patients at the bedside, to do higher value added work. So I don't see this as an either or, humans or AI. I see it as an and. Humans enhanced by AI will outperform humans with no AI. And so companies that are willing to embrace AI will outperform those that don't. And BCG, Boston Consulting Group, did a study with Harvard where they gave ChatGPT 4 to 759 white-collar consultants, and they measured their performance before and after. And the insights were profound. First off, the quantity of work went up 15%, the speed went up 25%, and the quality went up 40%. So when I hear CEOs or companies say, we don't want to use AI, to me that's like saying, we don't want our people to have superpowers. That's insane.
Reminds me of high school with the TI-89s. You know,
Exactly.
so if the tool is there, why not use it, right? Augment.
Exactly. And today we don't use slide rulers anymore.
Right.
And when those TIs came out, the Texas Instrument calculators, we gave one to a retiring math teacher in my high school, and it was $800. Now I can buy a calculator at the dollar store for $2.
Right.
So that same change is happening with AI, and one of the reasons we're seeing this AI revolution right now is a gigaflop is a measure of compute speed. So a gigaflop is doing 1 billion floating point operations in a single second. And in 1961, a gigaflop cost $164 billion on mainframes. And this year, 2024, it's a single cent. And that's so 2024 a figure. It's going to go down again by another 10 trillion X over the next 33 years. So we're seeing this AI explosion because one of the enabling factors have been the declining cost curves of compute power. And these AI apps are humongously compute intensive, just like blockchain and cryptocurrencies are. So it's an entirely new business ecosystem that is given birth to because of this enabling factor.
Jim, when you think about the products, the services that it's going to give birth to, when you look at some of the examples that you've given, healthcare stuff is one really good one, and others too. I mean, these are things that these companies are going to figure out over time on how to implement. When you look at that potential for all these services and products, and then you look at what's been already built out, the infrastructure, kind of all these brain networks, if you will, that the mega scalers and hyperscalers have built out, does it look like they're going to need more, or do we have sufficient power, like based on what we've seen over the last couple quarters from Microsoft, from Alphabet, Amazon, those that are buying up all these chips? Do they have enough to service these products coming, or give me kind of the thought about how much of that infrastructure still needs to be built out at this point?
So when you say power, are you talking about how much electricity is the AI sector going to take, or is it is the question really is there a long runway for an NVIDIA chip sales? Like
the latter, basically, but the former is a good point too, because we're already seeing the limits of the power needs too, which is kind of a separate subject. Maybe we come back to, but the first one kind of being the actual computing infrastructure that's been laid out. Do you feel that that's sufficient for now? Like, should we expect those sales to slow, or what does that trajectory look like?
We are back to my premise. We are at not even in the end of inning number 1 in the baseball game on this thing. There is an infinite runway, just like there was an infinite runway on the web. So I was at the Consumer Electronics Show this year in Las Vegas. I go every year. It's the preeminent tech show in the world. I love it. And at it, Pat Gesslinger, who's the CEO of Intel, was saying, we're seeing productivity use cases from 10x to 10,000x. That is staggering. And because there's so much economic value in this, companies are incented to dive deep into AI. And I can give you a couple of use cases that blow me away. At the World Economic Forum this year in Davos, I put Pat's 10x to 10,000x to a panel, and on the panel was a woman who was in advertising, and she said, here's how we used to work 25 years ago. We'd listen to the client, our whole team, for a half day, and then we'd go away for 2 weeks and create images and slogans and campaign themes, and then we'd come back 2 weeks later and present to them our visual images on foam core boards and our cut lines and slogans. And I thought to myself, that is so Mad Men. It's exactly what Mad Men was. I love the series. And then she says, now today, I do that all by myself in 2 hours with ChatGPT and Midjourney and DALL-E. So if you do the math on this example, a whole team of people working for 2 weeks is being done by a single person in 2 hours. That is a 1,000x increase in productivity. And that is too powerful a use case for companies in the advertising space, in the marketing space to ignore. So that's our introductory use case. I can give you another
Sure.
that blows me away.
Hit me.
So I was at a preeminent conference globally called NextMed. It is the thought leading conference globally for the medical space.
Okay.
And this was last year in San Diego. And there was a young doctor from the UK, the United Kingdom. It has the largest single payer system in the world, meaning the government pays for healthcare. And he was very frustrated because during the pandemic, 25 million people every single year missed their doctor's appointment. And this has a horrific impact on health. If you're a woman and you miss 2 mammograms, your chance of breast cancer is increased by 300%. If you have a problem with retinopathy and you miss 1 appointment, your chance of blindness is increased 5,000%. So there's a human cost to this. And people are lining up and waiting for appointments, and 25 million people are missing them. So what he did is he took all the data and fed it through an AI and said, regressively look at who missed their appointments and figure out why and predict who will miss their appointments in the future. Now, I'll give you some background. It might be an elderly gentleman whose appointment was at night and he doesn't see very well, so he doesn't want to ride the tube, so he misses his appointment. Or it might be a single mom whose appointment is during a work day and she can't afford to take the time off work. So the system now predicts who's going to miss their appointments, and then 8 weeks in advance, NHS staff give them the first choice of booking appointments. So the elderly gentleman gets something in the day and the single mom gets something on the weekend. And that has increased the capacity of the NHS by 6%.
That's cool.
Which, given it's 156 billion pounds of spending every year, that's 9 billion pounds of saving, of increased capacity for zero cost. I feel a Dr. Evil moment coming on. 9 billion pounds.
Hey, Jim, I love that. Great examples. And I love the passion of following along with these and the insight into what you're hearing kind of on the ground. One of the things that makes me think about, to kind of come full circle where we started, internet versus here, is that the companies that really pioneered the internet were kind of brand new, that then led to this massive wave of IPOs. And it seems different here, where a lot of this disruption is almost coming from within, with some of the big giants that are leading that. There hasn't really been a big IPO boom. There's been some companies related to AI that have gone public. But do you foresee any of these potential efficiencies, these use cases, becoming entities on their own, or are these still going to be generally happening kind of under the umbrella of big existing public companies?
It's going to be both, Oliver. If you think about the internet revolution of the web, one of the big winners was Cisco, because it was all about bandwidth, and we have an infinite appetite for bandwidth. So the analog in today's AI market is obviously NVIDIA. It's what is the infrastructure engine of the new entity. It's also smartphones and AI chips. You know, my smartphone has more raw computing power than IBM's Deep Blue that beat Garry Kasparov in chess.
Right.
So it's a more, in some ways it's more centralized, like NVIDIA, and in other ways it's more distributed. So we will see large companies all beginning to embed AI in their existing products. If they don't do that, they're going to bleed customers. So that's the centralized big company thing. But what we're seeing is a huge froth of the thousands of AI apps that are coming out. Look at the huge VC funding of AI startups. We're going to see a huge consolidation of those. We're going to see many companies coming out of that. And if you think about the companies today, like Amazon was born out of that web. So what are all the companies that are going to be born out of this boom that aren't even on the radar today?
Yeah, fair enough.
So we're going to see both small company innovation. One of the insights I like to look at is how long does it take a large organization to transform itself, to change, to pivot? And I work with organizations around exponential. How can an organization begin to adopt new technologies, new business models, new strategies in record time? You know, it took the airline industry 68 years to reach 50 million customers, and it took OpenAI 50 days. So my question to CEOs, my question to executive teams, my question to industry leaders is, are you changing as fast as the technology is enabling new business models? And if the answer is no, doom is imminent at some point, whether a devaluation or a total collapse. So this is the whole disruptive theme. So organizations that are large have to learn how to change faster. And that's the work that I do.
Jim, to the final point, the saying used to go, learn to code, solves any problems you don't know what to do, tell young people learn to code. Does that change now? Is it learn to teach AI?
I would say learn AI, learn AI. That's all I'm focusing on. But Jensen was at a conference 5 months ago, the CEO of NVIDIA, and he said, nobody's going to have to code anymore, which was a surprising statement, because NVIDIA's goal is to make AI so powerful that coding becomes just using English, in my case, or if I were in India, I might be using Hindi or another language. But really, we're going to democratize programming such that it's just in human language. It's whatever your native language is going to be. So again, this is, the big revolution with Windows and Apple was the graphical user interface. Well, our user interface around AI is soon just going to be natural human language.
Got it. Love it. Jim, love the excitement, love the passion. Appreciate your time.
Oliver, it has been so great to be on the program with you. I look forward to coming back again.
That was a fun chat. Good stuff. Thank you, Jim. A good look here at the potential for AI, comparisons to .com too, as we try and still sort out what's to come, what inning we're in. Thanks, Jim Harris. Thank you for joining Market Overtime. Be sure to check out all of our full episodes on the Schwab Network YouTube page. Follow Schwab Network on X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. I'm Oliver Rennick. Thanks for watching.